In this video, I will share with you a recently assessed response that I wrote during my English GCSE literature class. This particular piece received a score of 25 out of 30 marks, which is roughly equivalent to a grade 8. My intention is to demonstrate to you what constitutes a good or bad response to a literature question based on my own experiences. By watching this video, I also hope you can magpie some ideas and enhance your own understanding of Jekyll and Hyde, improving your responses and hopefully your GCSE English literature grades. Additionally, I welcome any feedback you might have, as it could potentially benefit the both of us. Moreover, I will not only present my answer, but also the feedback I received on my question. By reviewing the feedback, you can learn from my mistakes and improve your own answers and grades. The question my response answered was that of the following: how does Stevenson create mystery and fear? The extract needed to be used was from chapter 1, when Mr. Utterson and Mr. Enfield are walking their weekly Sunday walk. I will write it down in the description. My response goes as the following. Stevenson presents fear and mystery through the use of different techniques and language throughout the extract and the novella as a whole. In doing this, he creates a large amount of tension and suspense within the text, encouraging the reader to read on, in order to receive the eventual payoff of all this suspense, tension and mystery. Through the use of auditory sensory language, Stevenson tries and largely succeeds to create a vivid, tension-packed, frightening and mysterious setting. In Chapter 2, Stevenson uses an animalistic, auditory personification to describe London, the low growl of London. This quote presents London as animalistic and may be used by Stevenson to allude that there may be some kind of evil, Mr. Hyde, or perhaps a broader evil, e.g. capitalism, on the streets of London. This is used to juxtapose and contradict his prior description of London, of having an air of invitation. Stevenson does this to explore the duality of London and create a sense of mystery to the true nature of London. The use of the noun growl could also suggest violence, or perhaps a warning to violence from an animal, as they growl before they bite you. Maybe this is a warning from London to Mr. Utterson, or perhaps us as a reader, to the evils of Mr. Hyde, who throughout the novella is described using animalistic language. Even his name evokes imagery of an animal's hide. When Mr. Hyde is startled, his immediate reaction is a quote-unquote hissing intake of breath, as he quote-unquote shrank back. This response has heavy animalistic connotations and reveals his true nature, and before he has a chance to compose himself, he reacts in much the same way as an animal. Hissing has a heavy connotation of snakes. This may be an allusion to Genesis, comparing him to the devil, who shapeshifted into a snake in order to mislead Adam and Eve, to go against the word of God, introducing the original sin. By making this comparison to the devil, Stevenson is trying to tell the much more religious people of the Victorian era that Mr. Hyde is not to be trusted. Moreover, he should be feared, much like the devil was, and that there may be something more sinister transpiring in the shadows that we don't quite understand yet. Hyde's reaction may also tell us, as the reader, that Mr. Hyde is an outsider who fears the rest of Victorian society, thereby breaking Victorian societal expectations and becoming a quote-unquote monster, with Mr. Utterson representing the ideal member of Victorian society. While Mr. Utterson and Richard Enfield walk their weekly Sunday walk in the first chapter, Stevenson juxtaposes and contrasts the quote sinister door, unquote, which is quote blistered and disdained, unquote, with the pleasant street. This creates a sense of mystery for the audience, as we are left wondering why the door is so menacing and quote-unquote sinister. The street is described as quote-unquote well-off and welcoming, with quote smiling saleswomen, unquote, while on the other hand, the door is presented as secretive and unwelcome, as it has quote neither a bell nor knocker, unquote, discouraging sociability and leading the reader to wonder who lives there and what they may be hiding, creating a sense of mystery. Stevenson may have created this contrast between the quote-unquote blistered door and the quote-unquote well-off street as a reflection of his experiences living in England during the Industrial Revolution, a period of massive wealth inequality and duality of wealth due to the emergence of capitalism within cities like London and Edinburgh, especially as the street is described as wealthy and quote-unquote well-off, while on the other hand, quote-unquote tramps rest on the door. While waiting for Mr. Hyde, London is described as, quote, very silent, unquote, almost eerily so. This is a large juxtaposition to what we, and especially the people of Victorian time, know London to be like. To be loud, busy and lively, especially as at the time London was a very industrial city. However, this quote describes London as, quote, very silent, unquote. This gives the reader a sense something sinister may be afoot, creating a sense of mystery and fear, as it subverts what they know to be true. When Mr. Hyde tramples a young girl, he is described as a, quote, human juggernaut, unquote, as he, quote, trod the child down, unquote. This language creates a vivid and frightening image in the mind of the reader. The noun, quote-unquote, juggernaut suggests a sense of an unstoppable force, and then, this is when I ran out of time during my assessment. Now to get onto the feedback I received. The main piece of feedback I received on this was how I structured my response. What I mean by this is I should have structured it in much the same way an effective essay is structured, with a short, specific and insightful thesis statement which all your other points, ideas and paragraphs, which all have a separate topic sentence, are used in service to this thesis to prove it. A really good example of a thesis statement came from somebody else in my class, which goes as the following. Stevenson presents fear and mystery by exploiting the cultural zeitgeist of the time, making it a shocking text on reception. This is a far better than my response, which has a lot of wasted words. This, on the other hand, is precise, brief, and allows for a much deeper and profound analysis of the text in question. Other than that, I didn't receive much more feedback on this assessed piece, so if you think you can provide any meaningful constructive feedback, that would be much appreciated. Thanks for watching, have a lovely day. Hope this helped.